Hello, welcome to Web of Stories. My name is Melinda. I still can't sit for long periods of time. Thank you back, and I'm still in front of here. I'm going to try to do this tag, which is the Isaac Newton tag. I'm going to try and do it before my husband walks in front of the camera again. If you saw my update for last week, you'll know what I'm talking about. So this tag was created by Reading Ideas, and I was tagged by Pat at Book Chat with Pat. And it's all about, all the questions are related to something to do with Isaac Newton and his life. I can't say that Isaac Newton is in any of the answers because I really don't know that much about Isaac Newton than what you're kind of taught in generally in school. But these were fun questions. So let's get started. I even have some of the books here, but not all of them. So the first question is, adopted or sent away or abandoned? A book with a character that is adopted, sent away, or abandoned. Well, I'm going to go for a book that we have a number of characters who are abandoned. We have a character who was sent away, and that is The House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. This is hold this up a little better. This is a wonderful book about sort of a orphanage group home, foster home, where magical children who they don't want to deal with are sent, and the person who takes care of them, as well as the caseworker that no one wants to deal with, they send there to take care of it. I know this is a very popular book, and you've probably read it, but if you haven't, I highly recommend it. It's wonderful. There is a sequel to it coming out, and I am going to say I am not committing to reading the sequel because to me, this book was pretty perfect on its own. And so I'm going to wait to hear what other people think of the sequel before I pick it up to see. But on its own, The House in the Cerulean Sea is pretty perfect and has a lot of abandoned kids in it. Okay, the next question. A use or measurement of time, a book where time is a crucial element. And I am going to do one that, yes, I have read this, but I have not yet reread it, and we'll get to that in a moment. And it popped into my mind because of a podcast I listened to this week, but I'm going to say Romeo and Juliet by William Shakespeare, because of the great thing of the friar who doesn't get there in time to not tell Juliet to kill, or Romeo to kill himself, but Juliet's not really dead. Time didn't work well there. Obviously, I'm doing my Shakespeare project. I've not yet pulled Romeo and Juliet out of the tin. However, I did listen to the first episode of the Everyday Shakespeare podcast where they talked about Romeo and Juliet, and it gave me a new way of looking at a play that I actually didn't like that much. So now I'm actually really excited for whenever I pull that play out. But I do remember the fact of the friar being held up and not getting somewhere on time, sort of a big deal. So yeah. Number 3, A Test of Strength, a book where the character has to pass a test of strength. This was a hard one. I may have stretched this a little bit for this answer, but I have The Electricity of Every Living Thing, A Woman's Walk in the Wild to Find Her Way Home by Catherine May. So Catherine May, who wrote Wintering, as an adult, discovered that she was autistic. And the way she kind of dealt with this is she decided to walk the south path. I don't know, something in England around the beach. And it was sort of a personal thing for her to kind of work through this to gain acceptance for herself and the new way that she was defining herself. Now, part of me was tempted to put Wild by Cheryl Strait here, and I chose not to do that because A, too obvious, and B, this gives me a little something that has always perplexed me about The Electricity of Every Living Thing is people try to compare it to Wild. And I'm like, why? Why would you? Because they're both walking? Yes. Catherine May walks on weekends and her husband drops her off and picks her up every night and she stops and has lunch in pubs. Little different than Wild. Not saying that it wasn't a feat of strength on her part to do this, both emotionally and physically. Okay. A character with a dark side or a temper, a book where a character has a dark side or a temper. And I chose The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman. And I'm not going to go too much into what this book is about because I think it's important to discover that on your own as you're reading it. But there's a father character in there who shows a different side, and it's very jarring. And there's a reason for it, which I can't tell you because it would be a spoiler, but it's definitely where someone's dark side comes out. Also, it's a wonderful book. It's like a fairy tale for adults. It's short. Highly recommend it. Number 5. A Quest Destroys Personal Life, a book where the quest is deemed so big that the character either chooses to have no personal life or it is destroyed. And the one I chose, and I'm kind of apprehensive about this because this question makes it sound like it's a very negative thing, and I don't think it's actually a negative thing in here, but it is Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmis. So Elizabeth Zott is a genius, but she wants her life to be science. And she's living at a time where the fact that she is a woman, that works against her, but she devotes her life to it. And other than a relationship that she has that leads to a child, that is not a spoiler, that's the beginning of the book. Her life is all about science in ways that are not probably what you would expect, but she still makes it work for her. So Lessons in Chemistry. Okay, go get my stack of books here. Okay, whoops, things are gonna fall over. Next question, questionable decision. A book where the main character makes a questionable decision. So I hate this. I hate books where it's just people making stupid decisions over and over and over again. And that will immediately turn me off a book. So I chose one here that I probably unfairly dinged because of that. And I want to give it a little bit more of a call out, and that's Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. The reason why I kind of gave it, look, I've read books where it's just the whole plot is just pushed along by people making stupid decisions. And that's kind of what goes on here, but this is also satire. So it actually is necessary for it. It's not a book for me because of that, but it is not because it is a bad book. But yes, she makes a lot of stupid decisions. Number 7, scale change. A book with an object or place that goes through a scale change. You do not know how much I wanted to say Alice in Wonderland on this one, or Through the Looking Glass, or whichever one it is where she does the eats and drinks and changes size. But I did not. I chose I Liked My Life by Abby Fabiashi, which is a book I read a long time ago. Basically what it is, there's 3 main characters. There's a father, a daughter, and a mother. And the mother has died by suicide, by what people believe is suicide. And she is the narrator of this book, kind of telling it from the other side. So you have a change there. But also, the longer she is on the other side, so we say, the farther she gets from the action, if that makes any sense. But I thought that was an interesting way of looking at that, because she changes form. Okay, question 8. Falling, or something to do with gravity. A book where someone or something is falling, or where gravity plays a part. I went a little obvious on this one, and I did a book that I read for the first round of the BookTube prize. And it is still, as far as I know, it is in this round, but the round ends like right away. It's tomorrow. All the votes are in, so I don't know if it's still in it. And that is The Underworld: Journeys to the Depths of the Ocean by Susan Casey. This is going down in submersibles to the bottom of the ocean, and it's scientists doing it, not rich billionaires who get turned into goo. So yeah, you go down, you fall down, 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 down into the trenches, and you see some really weird looking fish. And I will admit that thanks to the events of, was it last summer? I do now have a fear of submersibles. Thank you, billionaires. But it was still a fascinating book. Okay, number 9, red herring. A false trail or use of codes. A book with a red herring, a false trail, or a quest of the use of codes. Now, I don't know if you can see it really well here, but starting here and going down to the shelf down here, these are all Agatha Christie books. So I have like a lot of choices. And so I chose not to choose Agatha Christie. And instead I chose, again, being very obvious on this one, The Twyford Code by Janice Hallett. So Janice Hallett's books are really interesting. They, I don't want to lose things. They're very intricate and they're puzzle mysteries. And what's really amazing is that she is a pantser when it comes to writing. She goes in without a plan, and I do not understand how she achieves this. This particular one, by the title, you can probably tell, really relies on a code. And it's a very ingenious, smart code. Now, if you've never read Janice Hallett, this is not the book I recommend starting with. I recommend starting with probably any of her other ones. She currently has, well, 2 books and a novella out besides this. Her first one is The Appeal. Great place to start. Her most recent is The Mysterious Case of the Alperton Angels. Also a good place to start. I'd probably choose The Appeal over Alperton Angels. But the important thing is I really recommend reading at least one book by her before reading this one. So you get a feel of what she's trying to do, because this one is much more complicated than her other books. But it is all based on a code, which I've read this book. I really enjoyed this book. Didn't but it's there. Okay, let's see. Okay, number 10. Oop, I've got another one to hold up for this one. Revenge or Punishment, a book with an element of revenge or punishment, and I did not choose the Count of Monte Cristo. I was tempted, but then I remembered a book that I actually recently gave 5 stars to. Stoneblind by Natalie Haynes. I listened to it, but I have the print copy. My daughter's not borrowed it yet, so I still have it. This is the story of Medusa, and revenge is, so she is raped by Poseidon in Athena's temple, and Athena wants revenge, but apparently not on Poseidon. She goes after Medusa and turns her into Snakehead. Everyone knows the story. The actual plot of the story is not really that important because we all already know it. It's the way that Natalie Haynes chooses to tell it, which is wonderful. Fabulous book. Highly recommended on audio. It is narrated by Natalie Haynes. She has a background as a stand-up comic, so and a broadcaster. So she's really good at narration, and she brings a lot of personality and humor to this book. So Stoneblind by Natalie Haynes. Okay, we're getting there. I think I only have 2 more questions left. A rise and fall. A book with a rise in status followed by a catastrophic fall. And I cannot find my copy of this book, so I'm going to have to stick some up here. I'm going to have to get a new copy is what I'm going to have to do. And that is The Tenant of Wildfell Hall by Anne Bronte. I'm a huge Bronte person. Anne is my favorite. More than Charlotte. There's whole videos about that one. And my favorite of her 2 books is The Tenant of Wildfell Hall. So this is the story of Helen, who marries what looks like to be like a very advantageous marriage to a man that seems wonderful. Quickly learns that is not the case, to the point that she becomes an abused wife. Their child is abused. She has no choice but to escape and to run off and live under an assumed name. And this book is the story of that disastrous first marriage and all that. And so that's what I thought of in a book of rise in status and a catastrophic fall, and highly recommend it. If you have never read the Brontes, this is not a bad book to start with. I would say either of Anne Bronte's books are good on-ramps. Yeah, just don't start with Wuthering Heights. Because that one's very unique. Don't start. And if you're going to read Charlotte Bronte, just read Jane Eyre. But yeah, Tenant of Wildfell Hall. And finally, last question. A genius. Which writer to you is a genius, or a book with a character that is a genius? I went Bossy Pants by Tina Fey. I love Tina Fey. I think she is so astute and funny, and Bossy Pants is one of my favorite post SNL books. 3 of them were released at once. Well, in the short succession. Bossy Pants, Yes Please, and Girl Walks Into a Bar, which is Rachel Dratch's. Everyone forgets about that one, and that's kind of the thing with that book. And they're all fantastic. I actually recommend reading them all in short succession because you get very different accounts of what post-SNL life is like. But my favorite is Bossy Pants. I think it is the most, it says the most generally about life as a woman. So that's mine. And so the final question is to tag some others. Tag anyone who is watching this or who would like to do this tag, and the following people. I think that's actually what Pat wrote, and I just copied it down, but it still holds. But I am specifically going to tag Mariandria at Books of Bocadillos. And these are people I don't think were tagged already. So if you've already been tagged, I'm sorry. Erin at Erin Go Live, and Suey at Suey's Book Banter. So I'd love to hear what your choices are. And there's no shame in choosing things like The Count of Monte Cristo and Alice in Wonderland, just saying. Anyway, thank you very much. Like, subscribe, join my Discord, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.